locked in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogden.
Hello and welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio. It's the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I'm Ralph Brogden. Well, there is no way of getting around it. If you're going to build a business you need for the life you want, you're going to have to learn how to get along with people. People want to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And I have referred to this as a relationship economy, that we have to remember that people are not just discombobulated digital whatevers floating around in cyberspace, but they're actually human beings and they want to make personal connections with you and with your brand. So how do you build a culture that supports that human economy? And I have no idea. So I brought in an expert who was going to help us dial that in. Lyne Tumlinson is known for her energy and inspiration as she helps leaders whose staff teams experience energy-sucking conflicts. Do you ever experience that? Yeah, all the time, right? And so Lyne works with those seeking a meaningful culture for their organization. This is going to result in highly engaged, high-performing focus from leaders and the staff, and frankly, everybody that comes in contact with that organization. So I'm very interested in learning what you have to say. Lyne Tumlinson, welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Thank you, Ralph. I'm excited to be here.
Your website is lift-teamcoaching.com. Tell me, before we get into anything else, what is your philosophy behind that lift concept, lift team coaching?
I'm so happy you asked me that. That's great. I'm so excited you asked that. The lift is actually a hat tip to my dad, who is an aeronautical engineer. And so what you may or may not know is lift is what makes airplanes fly.
Yes.
And that's what he put into motion throughout his career. And that's what I help leaders and their teams do, whether on an individual basis or within the team or the organization as a whole. They need that lift to work together, to work towards their mission and vision, and to all have a good time together.
Perfect. And what a great call out to your dad to incorporate that into your brand. That gives it the personal connection. And that's what I'm talking about with this culture of being human, relating to one another in ways that are not corporate and static and in the silo, but it is working towards a meaningful culture, people connecting with people. So I think this is applicable even for you solopreneurs out there that are listening, because your culture is basically how you behave on a daily basis, and that's based on your belief. So whether you're one person in your team, or whether you're 5 or 50 or 100, even a solopreneur, you are relating and working with service providers, affiliates, partners. So this affects every single aspect of our business, and I'm so glad that we have you on, Lyne. First, before we get into what you do, tell us a little bit about how you got started. What's your background?
I'll try not to make this a long story, even though it starts when I was in 9th grade. I decided I wanted to be a Christian counselor when I woke up because I wanted to help other people find their purpose in life. Well, jump forward a few years, and I was a psychology major in college. I went to the University of Northern Colorado. By the time I was a junior in college, I realized that my profs were nuts. And I'm not talking about, oh, let's go have fun, let's get nuts. No. They were like people I did not want to emulate. But I wanted to get out of school. So I completed that psychology degree, and I thought it would be smart to add a business minor. I also had a minor in Russian language, but that's kind of another rabbit trail there. So all the way through my career, which has been very topsy-turvy and turning a lot of different directions, but all the way through, I used at least 2 of those 3 specializations. I worked at a call center to help with software issues in a tax return business. I put together workshops and resources for K-12 teachers and worked with community groups to understand the international programs they had at the University of Kansas. And then my last job was at a national association. And there I was the director of career services. When I left that job, I knew I wanted to be a coach. I have a cousin she's a master certified coach, and she mentored me to get to where I wanted to be as a coach, helping me know how important it is to get trained as a coach and to get certified instead of just hanging out a shingle and calling yourself a coach and giving advice. Mm-hmm. So since I was the director of career services, I started out as a career coach, and my actual business name is Career Lift. So it still had that lift in it, like airplanes. And I then realized that people kept asking me to look at their resumes. I hate resumes. I think they're out of date. I think they are a hard decision tool for employers that are trying to hire the right person for the organization's mission, because whoever they choose based on those static criteria, they might not fit what they really need or what they set out for at the beginning of the hiring process.
And how would you even know that just from reading the resume, how the person's energy or whatever? I agree with you, Lynn. I'm just not that impressed with the whole resume thing. But now that everything is digitized and computerized and you get 1,000 applicants, it's like you don't have a choice, but it's really not the ideal, is it?
Right. That's, in my opinion, I think you're exactly on it, Ralph. And it goes back to that human economy. You have to be person as a person, not words on paper. Especially the way that so many resumes are written in such stilted language. But I don't want to stay there. I want to move forward. And what I did then was I turned to team coaching, because I realized that where energy is multiplied, it's when individual leaders grow into their best selves, and then they experience groups pulling together their diverse strengths. So in that kind of a team atmosphere, they can fill the gaps for each other's blind spots and become a dynamic and powerful team. You might even hear that in my voice, that that's really what turns me on. And it's not just about me. It's about watching other people grow as individuals within teams, and then taking that whole thing to their organization.
Well, we were talking offline about how it begins with the individual mindset, and then it goes to the team, and then it goes to the organization. So there's kind of a process of evolution and transformation that you create in these organizations. But tell us a little bit more about, who do you help? Your site says that you are lifting leaders and their teams. Who was an ideal organization that you would be doing the most good for?
I love the way you ask that. I mostly work with association staffs, but what I learn is there's a commonality between association staff, small businesses, and even within the corporate scene, because it's about leaders and their teams wanting to work strongly together. But they often get caught up in wonky dynamics and drama. Yeah. And think about what happens, Ralph, when there's a toxic person on the team. And like I said, this can happen anywhere. A toxic person on the team, and everyone walks the long way around the office to avoid that person.
Sure.
That kind of negativity, it distracts everybody. It sucks the energy and the juice, and it's hard to get any collaboration and creative ideas on the table.
Can we fix that, or do we just need to fire them and start over? What do you think?
It depends on the group. It depends on the person. If that toxic person does not realize how they're coming across and where they're coming from, and they're open to changing and understanding themselves and other people better, that can work. A lot of times what happens, I'll admit, when I'm working with teams, is the person will feel a calling elsewhere, whether it's being told that or actually realizing it for themselves.
Yeah, it's like you've got a toxic person. It's like, I really feel like you have a calling. It's just not here. It's someplace else, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
I love that. Well, every survey that I have read talks about the terrible state of the workplace in terms of morale, where people are not happy, they're disengaged at work, and I want to talk about how we can address that. But first, something you said triggered a question. Do you think that the organization creates the toxic people, or is it a hiring thing where we, without knowing any better, we bring in someone who is already toxic? Are we making the wrong hiring decision, or is the organization itself is like a person I heard some years ago? If you hang around the pig pen, you're going to smell like a pig. So,
hey, that's right.
Can healthy people go into a toxic organization and become toxic?
Absolutely. But I think it's even earlier than that, Ralph. Think about when we were growing up. I'll make an assumption about our ages being similar. When we were growing up, we were told how to behave. We were told what skills are important and what aren't. So think about how high achievers and the ones that were the leaders and the heads of all the committees and in student government and those kind of things. And that's who a lot of the grown-ups who were shaping us, that's kind of the direction they sent all of us. What would it be like if all of us were those high-achieving leaders? Who would get anything done? And so I think it goes back to that human economy. I'm really excited about the changes that are happening now as people realize, oh, I don't have to be like that. I can be, I am. And we need that too. And I think that it goes all the way back to that, and then it creeps into the organization, whether it was a company or an association that has been there for long enough that they remember the industrial era and the command and control expectation. And those are the things that need to change. But sometimes the individuals involved don't want to give up the power or don't really see what happens at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. And I think there is a definite generational difference in how you and I, in our generation, approach work in the workplace compared to how millennials approach it. So we come from different perspectives, and I think we need to understand all of those different perspectives so that we know best how to work with one another. And I'm convinced that we can do that. And I think that the commonality being the human element, which is what we are talking about. So as we get into this, and as you work with organizations and with teams, and then with individuals and with leaders and team members to try and create or to create change, but to get them unstuck and get them moving forward.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest obstacle that seems to present itself over and over again, that if you can solve this problem, most of the transformation that you're trying to accomplish would be manifest that much more quickly? Is there a common obstacle that you see over and over again?
I do, and it's a natural one too. We all want to know that we're important, that we're appreciated, that we're validated. And the opposite side of that coin is we expect other people to be the same way we are, to have the same values we do, to have the same strengths we do, and show up in the same way. And I would say that is the cornerstone of being stuck. Because if you can't see someone else for who they naturally and authentically are, then you judge them. There's something wrong with you.
Yeah, because you're not like me.
Because you're not like me.
I mean, the world would be a lot better place if everybody would just adopt my beliefs, my values, my work ethic, my vision. Yeah, well, yeah, that would be the perfect world. Not really, but we think that. We say that to ourselves.
Right. And actually, it would be a nightmare.
Yeah. We don't need any more of us in the world. One is enough, right?
One is enough. That's exactly right.
as you're then working through that, what are some things that we need to be mindful of? How do we get from where we are to where we want to be in this culture that we're building, that's putting people first, a human economy?
Yeah. I think the first step is knowing who you are in yourself. It's not just what you do, because we're human beings, not human doings. Mm-hmm. And of course, the action is an important, important end result of who we're being. But we need to know what our unique strengths are and how they combine with other people's unique strengths that are different than ours. And that way you come up with a full circle that's more complete and whole, as opposed to having those holes in it because we expect everyone to be like we are. Does that make sense? That
makes total sense. And it triggers to mind an analogy that I've used before. And I think it's extremely useful when you're trying to communicate teamwork, and the concept that everyone doesn't have to be like you to succeed. In fact, if you had a football team and everybody was a quarterback, you would be in big trouble.
Yeah, there wouldn't be anybody to catch the ball.
And then you say, well, the quarterback isn't working. Let's go out and hire wide receivers, and let's have a team full of wide receivers. That's not going to work either. Right. So you've got to analyze the situation as a coach and say, okay, well, we need one quarterback who's just going to kind of drive this thing. But we need linemen, we need running backs, we need wide receivers. We need different people doing different things that are working together towards a common goal. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what you're describing.
Yeah. There's another point in there too, Ralph, and that is it's so much easier for us to understand people who are like us. If I'm the quarterback, I understand how to throw the ball so that someone can catch it. But it's hard for me to understand that wide receiver and how he knows where to be at the right time and to see the ball coming. And it's really challenging because we are so caught up in who we are, even if we don't understand it, that it's hard for us to understand other people and how we can help each other.
Using this football analogy and carrying it even further, if once we are mindful of the fact, I'm a quarterback, I know how to throw the ball among other things, but I don't know what it is to be a receiver. I don't know what it is to be a wide receiver or anything. So then it kind of behooves me to seek out the wide receivers on my team and say, hey guys, how can I help you be a better wide receiver? What can I do and how can I do what I do better so that you're able to understand what I'm doing, where I'm sending the ball, and I'm setting you up for success. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. And there's another part of that. Again, it's the other side of the coin. Not only asking that wide receiver, what can I do for you? But asking that wide receiver, what's that like for you? What happens when you catch the ball? How do you feel? Ooh, that's probably something football players don't talk about enough.
They probably don't, but they probably should. Yeah. I mean, if you were to ask if a quarterback asked a wide receiver, how do you feel when you're jumping up to go get the ball and you know that you're going to get popped? If you're successful, or even if you drop the ball, you're going to get creamed by 3 or 4 people, but you've got to put yourself out there. What is that? What does that feel like? I mean, we could really open up some emotional exchanges there, couldn't we?
Might have less flags on the play. Just saying.
So know who you are, not just what you do, but know who you are, what your strengths are, and then how those strengths interact and create synergy among other people who do things and see things and perform differently than you do because they've got different gifts, different skills, and different strengths.
Right. And experiences.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. What are you working on right now, Lynn, that has got you excited, that you'd like to share with our listeners?
There's a couple things. that really have me excited. One thing that I've realized recently is that coaching cultures can help organizations, teams, and individuals set up that conversation out of non-judgment instead of with assumptions. And it means starting from the individual work to the unique teams, finding their voice. What's unique? What's their essence that they bring to the stakeholders from the top to the bottom? And one of the ideas I have going around my head, it's really just pieces for now, but I'm working on a keynote talk titled Finding Your Authentic Voice. And it's coming from the work that I just started with a professional coaching company called Invite Change. And with them, I'm helping bigger organizations build that coaching culture from top to bottom. So it starts at the top. You know, it just like we've been talking through this whole time, it starts at the top with the organizations and it goes all the way down into the individuals. And an individual, you know, they can work on several teams simultaneously, consecutively, dynamically, with the same sort of mission in mind for the whole organization. And it really comes out that there's a better way to work with others, no matter what the industry, no matter what the vision and mission of the organization. Having a coaching culture, it used to be, for me, it used to be, what's the word I'm thinking of? It used to scare me. Mm-hmm. It's like, wait, I'm the coach. You're taking my job. And now I'm realizing there's just not enough of me to go around for that. And when I can coach leaders to coach their people, that's where this human economy comes from.
Very exciting. And I think that is going to be more and more the most important mission of organizations moving forward, even though we're in the digital age, even though we are all on the internet and there seem to be barriers to face-to-face communication, there are still people behind those computers and still people that we have to work with and be able to communicate with if we want to get things done. So technology is not going to alleviate our responsibility to create these meaningful cultures, these meaningful relationships so that we can accomplish the purpose and the mission that our organization or our business exists. And so this has really been educational. And again, whether you are a business owner, a single person, or whether you are in fact scaling your business, leading a team, whatever, I think that these principles and these ideas are very applicable to you because we are all in this human economy. So, Lynn, this has really been a lot of fun to explore these concepts with you. Any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you would like to leave our listeners with?
Yes, and this one starts with fear of change. There's so much change going on in our economies, in our organizations, top to bottom, that it can be kind of scary. Not kind of scary, really scary. And what I'm learning is that curiosity and fear cannot occupy the same space. I had an email this morning from a young woman that came about a year ago, and she said that from her conversations with me, that she got out of that space where she was afraid to fail. She was afraid to make mistakes, and it just made her stuck, basically stuck in a corner because she was afraid to take a move forward. And from what she discovered in herself, she started trying new things. She got curious about the other side of that door that she had marked failure. And she rewrote her story. She sent me a list of accomplishments that she's had over the last year. And that's what's so exciting to me. So it makes me wonder, what is that thing that keeps you from moving forward, from growing through your mistakes, to focus on your uniqueness and purpose with others to make things better?
Powerful words of wisdom. Lyne Tumlinson is known for her energy and inspiration as she helps leaders whose staff teams experience energy-sucking conflicts, drama, all that stuff that we don't need, and she works with those seeking a meaningful culture for their organization. You can reach out to Lyne and find out more at lift-teamcoaching.com. That's lift-teamcoaching.com, and we'll have that website and that link on the Rebelpreneur website as well. Lyne, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you sharing your expertise with us, and good luck and best wishes to all the teams and the organizations that you will be working with, and I just hope you continue to succeed and do well.
Thank you, Ralph, for having me. It's been a joy to talk to you, and I look forward to more types of interactions like that.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogden. Download the show notes and much more at rebelpreneur.com.